Hey guys, welcome to Downtown Tailoring. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how to make a 1/4 circle skirt and I'm gonna show you how to stylize it. So let's go! If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe. This is my mannequin. I adjusted it so it can have more like a straight figure. The first thing that you have to do is to take the measurement of the waist, the hip, and the length that you are gonna do. So in this case, the waist is 29 inches and 1/4. And to measure the hips, usually I go from the top and then I slide down until I reach the biggest part of the hips. In this case, this hips is 34 inches and 3/4. And the length is approximately 26.5 or something like that, just the basic length. And as you can see, there is not so much difference between hips and waist. To make this skirt, you don't need to make a pattern. It's so easy. What I'm gonna do, I will fold the material in one of the corners. So I will have a triangle with a 45 degrees more or less. I'm gonna pin it just to secure it and make it easier for me to work. And then I'm gonna divide the waist by 2 and the hips by 2. And then I will take this half of the waist measurement. I will kind of project in the triangle to see more or less the height. And then when I found more or less the height, then I will measure it. And in my case, it's 18 inches and 5/8 more or less. And I will go from the very tip and I will go and start measuring all around 18 inches and a half, and this way my waist it will be formed. And then after I do that, I confirm, I measure again, and I see that it's okay. And of course I left 1 inch for seam allowance. And now I'm gonna find the hem. And for that, you decide the length that you want. For example, 27 inches or 28. It depends on you. In this case today, I'm gonna do 28.5 just to be sure that is the right length. Any length that you decide, just add 1 or 2 inches more just in case, plus the hem of course. So then I measure from the tip again and it's around 47 inches, and I'm going and repeat what I did with the waist with the hem, and then I will have my 2 marks, one for the waist, one for the hem. And then I will just finish it by doing a straight line in the side, and that will be my center back. Now I'm gonna take a ruler and soften up all those curves, and that will be the pattern for regular body or for straight shape body. In the case that you are working with a big butt body, it will be very useful if you project the line around 3/4 inch up, and that will accommodate better the behind. For very pronounced hips at the side, then raise the side a little bit, like probably 1/2 inch to 3/4, and then just draw a more straight line. So you can see you have the same pattern, same skirt, but a little tweak here and there will make it look better. Something else that you need to take in consideration when you are working in another type of body with a different ratio waist hip is to confirm that this triangle will yield the right hip. In our case, for our body type, it's very easy, but for wider hips, sometimes there is not enough, so you have to go a little bit lower where the triangle is bigger when you have the measurement, and then you have to reduce then the waist on top. Remember that when you are marking those lines, the line that goes straight to the edge has to be perpendicular to avoid points. Then I'm cutting my skirt, and look at that. This is my pattern. Very easy to do and very easy to sew. Let me try to find a good thread. You know that I'm always struggling, even if I have so many. I don't understand. So I think I find the nice color, and I'm preparing my bobbin and preparing my whole machine. The first thing I'm gonna do is to prepare my material to sew the zipper. For that, I'm gluing interfacing to the edges. Usually the skirt zipper depends of how wide the hip is, and in this case, because our proportion is pretty much straight, I don't need a huge super long zipper, but sometimes a 9 to 10 inches zipper is more comfortable than a 7 inches zipper. This interfacing will allow you to sew better the zipper. Remember that because of the cut, I'm working in one side to the grain of the material and the other to the cross grain, and that provokes a different behavior when you are sewing the zipper, and the interfacing will stabilize the material and make me do the job better and more comfortable. So it's time to sew, and I'm pinning my two pieces together. And for sewing this kind of material, you see, this material is not a really good one. I just bought it by mistake. And this is so thin that it's better to use a very thin needle. In this case, I will use size 10 of a regular needle, and they should be okay. And I just want to remind you that the correct way to put the needle is using the canal in the left, so the thread can go in easily. I'm gonna close my only seam in the skirt, and this seam goes at the back, and usually I like to leave 3/4 inch to 1 inch seam allowance just in case. Today I left 3/4 inches, and after I do my seam, I go to my ironing board, and I like to iron it to make sure that it's straight and nice. Remember that I'm working with the two materials that goes in different direction. Today I'm gonna finish those seams, folding and sewing them. I love this finish. This is the first one I learned, and I really love it. If it's for a customer, I probably will do the serger though. Then after that, I'm going to my ironing table, and again, I will press my seams open. I make sure that everything is smooth and nice, but I don't press it too much because I don't want the mark of the seam allowance going through the material. Then I'm gonna go back to my sewing machine, and I'm gonna do a stay stitch in my waist. You can do that later if you like, but I like to do it right away, just because sometimes with this cut the waist get too big if you don't do it on time. I'll use today this invisible zipper foot, and remember that I have a tutorial for exactly this kind of zipper. In my tutorial I use the regular zipper foot, but this one is a little bit easier because it opens the zipper and sew at the same time. Just a quick reminder that I verify that my zipper will be straight, and then I go and sew my left side, and then I finish with the right side with the zipper, and then I close the zipper, and it's all done. Now is the time for the waistband, and I want to show you a way that I used to do a lot when I was a little younger, and it's not really correct, but I found it easier. I will take my waistband measurement, which is 29 inches and 1/4, and then I will add 1/4 for seam allowance at each side, and then 1 inch for overlap. So my total is 30 inches and 3/4 that I will just round it to 31 inches. And I will make sure that my fabric is perfectly in bias. This is very important because if it's not biased, it won't look good. That's really important. I did my first mark just to be sure that it will be biased, but when I do waistband, I prefer to cut the whole thing in one straight line. So I'm unfolding the material and I'm marking a long line of at least 31 inches. And then I'm marking 3 inches so you can see better, but this job is better if you mark it at 2.5 inches to 2.75 inches. And then I'm adding a little bit more because just in case, you don't want to be short with the waistbands. Then I'm adding interfacing, and the interfacing I cut it bias too. Then I'm folding my waistband, and to do that, as you can see, you have to be very careful because iron the bias is really tricky. You have to go more or less to the grain because it's not that easy job, honestly. Then I'm going to my table and I will start and measure again, taking in consideration the 14 inches and 15/8, which is half of the waist, and I will mark the total of my waist. I'm using this pencil because the chalk will leave a mark. And then I'm taking my skirt and I will mark the half and then half of the half for my quarters. And I will do that in my waistband too. And that way to sew my waistband will be much easier because I just have to pin all those quarters and it will be easier. Then I'm going to my sewing machine and I will sew, just to make the job easier, the edge of my waistband. And then I will go from the back and sew it all around too. Of course, pinning all your marks will be nicer and better. I'm folding it because I will show you two ways to do it. One is if you fold it just right before you start to sew, and then you sew all around at about 3/8 of the inches or 1 centimeter. Then remember that I cut it a little bit bigger. And now you know what you do. You fold it a little bit and then you fold it like that and then you do top stitch. In this case, I'm not going to do the top stitch because this is a good time to try on the skirt on you or the customer, for whoever you are making the skirt for. So I'm gonna put it in a hanger and then I will hang it for about 1 week. In this case, I don't have the time to do it, but this is what you need to do because the skirt at the front is on bias and the bias cut always loosen up and get a little longer where the bias is. That will give you the opportunity to call your customer and let them know that they can come and try on the skirt. And let's say the customer came back and let's just put the skirt in our customer. As you can see, the waist is a little bit big. This is why I didn't finish the whole thing because I wanted to know if it was okay or not. And it's the time to measure the hem. You have to go all around and make sure that the length is the same all around. You mark your hem and that's it. So then the customer left, my mannequin, and I'm marking how much I need to reduce the waist. And it's about 1 inch and 1/4, and I will just remove my basting and I will open the waistband at the sides. Because of my customer body, I want to give this excess a little bit to the side so the skirt will look kind of more flare and it will make it look like the hips are a little bit bigger, like trying to balance the body a little bit. So I will open my waistband in both sides. I will just leave the center at the front done and I will make 1 stitch and then pull the thread whatever I need to pull, like probably like 3/4. It's not really much, and then I will sew everything back. And as you can see, I have the excess of the waistband in both sides at the back. Now it's time to finish and I will show you the other way that I used to do. So I told you first that you fold it that way, but you can fold it over, like you can fold it in the other side and make sure that you will cover the first stitch, and then you just do 1 stitch very close to the edge and then cut the excess of material. Then you are going to turn and you are basically ready in this side, but I will go to the other side to prepare the other corner. And remember that the other corner is the corner that goes inside for the waistband overlap. We are going to fold it in the same way, but just a little bit further, and then we are going to turn and we are going to make a top stitch all the way around. I used to like a lot this way because I feel like you have more control over the top stitch as the result. I don't know. Maybe I was just lazy. I will finish my skirt by doing the hem, and as you know, I love to use the band roll. So satisfying. And this is the result. My last step is to sew the hook and eyes, and when you sew it, make sure that you are not going through the material. Just sew on the top. The other side, you can go to the other side because it's in, but the one that goes outside, I'm gonna see if I can cover those holes that the mannequin has because of the way I have to, manipulate it. I'm gonna use these pantyhose or stretchy pants, I don't know what it is, and I will just cut the leg and of course the in between two. I'm gonna try to put it on the mannequin. That way, because that will mark the skirt, all those holes. I don't want it to do that. You see, even my mannequin needs pantyhose. And guys, this is the result. And I'm just wanted to put some other clothes to stylize. You see how good it looks? For this kind of body, what you need to do is to not emphasize so much the waist. Like I'm emphasizing it, but in a very discreet way. Sorry about the black, I just don't have anything, and I wanted just to show you that just don't use long blouses, always short, boxy on the top. The straight body is in fact easier to stylize, because the only thing you need to know is to show how slender are your hips and just to hide the small ratio between hips and waist by putting something boxy on the top. And then because the hips are slender, then you look like you are whole, very slim and tall person. Look, this mannequin look fantastic with all the clothes with the skirt. You can do the skirt in any material you like, and I hope that you like this video. If you like this video, please give us a like and don't forget to subscribe, share, comment. Bye!